Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде й далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні!
Слава!
Ukraine's President Viktor Yanukovych has spoken in public for the first time since striking a number of economic deals with Moscow. He defended the deals and offered nothing to the hundreds of thousands of pro-EU protesters who've been trying to hound him out of office this last month. It's very important other countries don't interfere in our internal questions and that they don't consider themselves the masters here, anywhere on this square or anywhere else.
Не зупиняємось, ідемо, не зупиняємось, дуже багато людей.
It started as a peaceful protest in one of Europe's busiest capitals. Today, it exploded into massive violence and bloodshed, now on the brink of a civil war. At least 70 dead so far, and the death toll rising. At issue, should Ukraine have closer ties to the U.S. and Europe, or Putin's Russia? Our team is on the ground and under fire in this fast-developing and breaking news story. Here's ABC's Alex Marquardt.
For weeks, this European capital has been the scene of a violent uprising. Today, the bloodiest day yet, with more than 70 dead and counting.
We are not terrorists, we are free people that want to live in a good country without corruption, with good laws, with good standards of living.
Ukraine, once a nuclear power that was part of the Soviet Union, is divided and at a crossroads. Caught between its past and the future, pitting East against West.
This will finish.
We have only one finish. We must to win, and we must to build our new country, which will be a part of civilized world.
There are snipers firing. If we get weapons, we will shoot. We'll eliminate these animals.
The West is now rallying its forces to try to stop the bloodshed. The White House following Europe in announcing tonight that the U.S. will impose sanctions on Ukrainian officials it believes are directly responsible for the violence.
This is Eric Olson for the New York Times reporting from Kiev, Ukraine. After a brutal and deadly day of fighting that claimed dozens of lives, Kiev's independent square took on a degree of normalcy, albeit one resembling a war zone or a scene from an apocalyptic film.
They are the bravest men, and I think they are the best Ukrainians. They are the best Ukrainians.
In a daily ritual, women circulated among the fighters, offering tea and snacks.
I'm trying to feed our defenders. We have cookies, fruits, hot tea, and cigarettes, stuff like that.
What truce there was here ended this morning. Protesters behind homemade shields walking into live fire. Even after this man is knocked off his feet, he takes cover and carries on. The police are shooting directly at protesters. They're using snipers too, with high-velocity rifles, firing from positions among the trees. The opposition say the authorities started this, and it is moving now beyond their control. The protesters were filmed leading a long line of riot police away. It's not clear where they were taking them.
Vitaly, can I very quickly just ask you, do you know where Viktor Yanukovych is right now?
It's a good question. Millions of Ukrainians want to know where is Yanukovych and try to find him. He disappeared. President of Ukraine disappeared. That's why we have to elect a new one.
The BBC can't independently verify this footage, but video has emerged which appears to show President Yanukovych's entourage fleeing from his luxurious mansion outside Kiev.
You'll never guess what's in here. It's a boxing ring, which is ironic, really, considering that one of the men responsible for ousting President Yanukovych is Vitaly Klitschko, the former boxing heavyweight champion. Anyway, just to give you an idea of what else is here, that over there is the tennis court. If I then point you over to the left, you'll see that huge wooden building. Now that seems to be the primary residence. The protesters are keeping a guard at the front door. They're not allowing anyone in. They say they think it might be booby-trapped, and they're getting some specialists in to check it out. But anyway, we've had a look through the window, and it's incredibly opulent. There's gold and chandeliers and marble everywhere. Now, come forward a bit, and you'll see across the grounds and that ornamental pond over there in the distance, another wooden building.
Hailed a hero by her supporters, Yulia Tymoshenko, a key figure in the Ukrainian opposition movement, is out of prison. Good evening and thank you for joining us. One of Ukraine's top opposition figures may be free tonight, but whether she'll be able to bring the divided country together remains very much in question. The president, with his power crumbling, fled the capital, and his compound was taken over by protesters. As Global National's Robin Stickley reports, Viktor Yanukovych insists this is a coup, but refuses to quit.
In a rapidly evolving political crisis, President Yanukovych has been voted out by parliament, forced to leave Kiev. But Yanukovych isn't going quietly.
The president is gone from Kiev physically. He is not gone from political power, at least according to him.
Today, Yanukovych defiantly calls his ouster a political coup, stating, "I am not going to resign." Adding to the tense political landscape here, former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko was released from prison today. Her arrest in 2011 widely seen as revenge by Yanukovych. Yanukovych's lavish compound also taken over by protesters. Thousands of Ukrainians coming to take video inside his vacated palace. Buildings that until now weren't open to the public.
Russian troops moving swiftly to take control of military bases in Crimea, where voters decided to rejoin Russia. Those troops shooting their way into one of those bases, and after they did, look at this tonight. A surveillance camera right here that had been recording people coming and going outside that base. Suddenly you see that soldier's hand reaching in, ripping it out, the camera going black.
Armored Russian vehicles burst through the wall of Crimea's Belbek base today, firing warning shots and throwing sound grenades. Ukrainian forces have set up a perimeter, but it's clear that we are completely surrounded by Russian forces. Masked Russian special forces fanned out, rifles at the ready. The mostly unarmed Ukrainians were ordered not to fight back. Commanders trying to avoid bloodshed at all costs.
Сегодня необходимо прекратить истерику, отказаться от риторики холодной войны и признать очевидную вещь. Россия самостоятельный, активный участник международной жизни. У нее, как и у других стран, есть национальные интересы, которые нужно учитывать и уважать. Я обращаюсь к народу Украины. Искренне хочу, чтобы вы нас поняли. Мы ни в коем случае не хотим нанести вам вред, оскорбить ваши национальные чувства. Мы всегда уважали территориальную целостность украинской державы.
For the last 3 months, there have been fears in the West that Russia was planning to invade Ukraine. It all began last November when satellite images began showing Russian troop movements close to the border with Ukraine. Now, President Putin denied planning an invasion, but he has written publicly about how he sees Russians and Ukrainians as one people. He also wants to block Ukraine from ever joining NATO.
This is probably the most dangerous moment, I would say, in the course of the next few days, in what is the biggest security crisis that Europe has faced for decades.
Russia has also been moving thousands of troops into Belarus here to the north for what it says are military exercises. Exercises taking place just a few hundred miles from the capital city of Ukraine, Kiev.
We are in the window when an invasion could begin at any time, should Vladimir Putin decide to order it.
It was unprovoked, but this is what Russian President Vladimir Putin unleashed on Ukraine as the sun came up this morning. A missile striking an industrial park in western Ukraine. A helicopter assault on an airport outside of Kiev. Close, intense fighting. And there are civilian casualties. Local officials say this apartment building was struck in eastern Ukraine. Heartbreaking images of people bloodied, staggering out of their homes. Ukraine says it's destroyed some Russian tanks using American-supplied missiles, that this is a damaged Russian helicopter, and that it has captured some Russian soldiers. On day one, the army has been holding strong, but they're being pushed to the limit by Russia's full-scale invasion with attacks across Ukraine, which is the size of Texas, from areas near those pro-Russian enclaves in the east to the capital Kiev in the west. It all began from a desk before dawn, when Russian President Vladimir Putin declared a special military operation on Russian television. Russia cannot feel safe, develop, and exist with a constant threat emanating from the territory of modern Ukraine, he said, describing the government in Kiev as a junta of neo-Nazis determined to build nuclear weapons.
The Russian president declared a war on the record. Should I play the video of your president? There is no purgatory for war criminals. They go straight to hell.
Richard joining us now. Richard, Putin insists he's not trying to occupy Ukraine, but what can you tell from what you've been seeing about what might be the goal here?
Well, he might not want to occupy Ukraine, but he certainly wants to overthrow the government. And to do that, he'd likely have to take the capital, Kiev. And U.S. officials say that is what he probably intends to do and where many of his forces are heading.
As Russia's military assault of Ukraine is underway, Germany's top diplomat put it in stark terms. We woke up in a different world today.
These troops you can see over here, they are Russian airborne forces. They have taken this airport. They've allowed us to come in and be with them as they defend the perimeter of this air base here. where helicopter-borne troops, these troops, were landed in the early hours of this morning to take and to form an air bridge to allow for more troops to come. And you can see these are Russian forces. You can tell they're Russian. I've spoken to them already. You can tell they're Russian. They've got that orange and black band to identify.
War in Europe. Russian President Vladimir Putin upending decades of geopolitical stability overnight when he decided to, unprovoked, launch attacks on multiple locations across Ukraine.
Всім добрий вечір. Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде й далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні! Слава!
Два орка, там их пизда. Пацаны, сейчас гранатом РП, сюда! Сюда все! Где все? Куда убежали? В лес! Скажу, куда? Пошли!
Падай! Падай, падай! Воздухи, падай, не
Около 7 справа и 6 слева.
Дальше.
І я хочу, щоб мене зараз почули всі. Почули особливо в Москві. Настав час зустрічатись, час говорити. Настав час відновлювати територіальну цілісність і справедливість для України. Інакше втрати Росії будуть такими, що вам не вистачить і кількох поколінь, щоб піднятися. Просто уявіть собі, що на тому стадіоні в Москві 14 тисяч трупів. І ще десятки тисяч поранених і скалічених людей. Вже стільки російських втрат від цього вторгнення.
This is the type of defense system Ukraine has been asking Western allies for. And this is the one Ottawa will be buying for Ukraine.
We are working to get it there as soon as possible. We are not contemplating years at this point.
The U.S. is sending its Bradley fighting vehicle. The UK is now promising 14 Challenger 2 tanks. Equipment needed, defense experts say, as Ukraine shifts to a new offensive in the spring.
This morning, Ukrainian forces destroying all 10 missiles targeting Kyiv. Also reporting, however, that falling debris has resulted in the deaths of a 9-year-old girl, her mother, and another woman.
As late as last year, all allies agreed that Ukraine will become a member of this alliance. And we are making concrete steps because Ukraine is moving towards NATO, meaning that they are coming closer and closer, meaning that they are moving from Soviet standards to NATO standards, equipment, doctrines, and we are helping them doing that as we speak.
Members of Congress.
I think it's too much.
I think it is. Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and the distinct honor of presenting to you His Excellency Volodymyr Zelensky, President of the Ukraine.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's too much for me. All this for our great people. Thank you so much. Dear Americans, in all states, cities, and communities, all those who value freedom and justice, who cherish it as strongly as we Ukrainians, in all our cities, in each and every family, I hope my words of respect and gratitude resonate in each American heart. So here is the front line. The tyranny which has no lack of cruelty against the lives of free people. And your support is crucial, not just to stand in such fight, but to get to the turning point to win on the battlefield. We have artillery. Yes. Thank you. We have it. Is it enough? Honestly, not really. To ensure Bakhmut is not just a stronghold that holds back the Russian army, but for the Russian army to completely pull out, more cannons and shells are needed. If so, just like the Battle of Saratoga, the fight for Bakhmut will change the trajectory of our war for independence and for freedom. If your patriots stop the Russian terror against our cities, it will let Ukrainian patriots work to the full to defend our freedom. I assure you that Ukrainian soldiers can perfectly operate American tanks and planes themselves. I know that everything depends on us, on Ukrainian armed forces, yet so much depends on the world. So much in the world depends on you. When I was in Bakhmut yesterday, our heroes gave me the flag, the battle flag, the flag of those who defend Ukraine, Europe, and the world at the cost of their lives. They asked me to bring this flag to you, to the US Congress, to members of the House of Representatives and senators whose decisions can save millions of people. So let these decisions be taken. Let this flag stay with you, ladies and gentlemen. This flag is a symbol of our victory. In this war, we stand, we fight, and we will win because we are united. Ukraine, America, and the entire free world.
A senior administration official tells ABC News that President Biden has informed the G7 allies here that the United States has agreed to allow Ukrainian pilots to begin training to fly American-made F-16 fighter jets.
The US finally approving American F-16 fighter jets for Ukraine, but they won't get here anytime soon. And US officials estimating that 500,000 Russian and Ukrainian soldiers have now been killed or injured, according to the New York Times. It's an estimate, not a precise statistic, but it gives a sense of the scale of the human tragedy after nearly 18 months of war.